Israel and Hamas agree on the Gaza ceasefire's second phase. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati arrives in Damascus. And Syria's al-Shara emphasizes long-term relations with Lebanon. Hello there, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock Cairo local time and you're watching Q News. And we begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. Israeli media have reported that Israel and Hamas have reached an initial agreement on the second phase of a Gaza ceasefire, alongside the implementation of the first phase. Discussions also address the possibility of a permanent ceasefire to ensure continuity. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held an emergency meeting with Defense Minister Israel Katz and the negotiating team after Hamas sent a positive message. Reports suggest optimism regarding a potential detainee exchange deal. Israeli media has reported that approximately 50 complaints have been filed against Israeli soldiers in 10 countries for war crimes in Gaza. Investigations are ongoing in nations such as South Africa, Sri Lanka, Brazil, and France. Rising legal actions target soldiers, especially those with dual citizenship. Palestinian and international organizations are intensifying efforts to prosecute Israeli war criminals. Israel has imposed stricter media restrictions to protect its soldiers. Gaza-based health authorities have confirmed that the Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli aggression on Gaza Strip has surged to over 46,000, with more than 109,571 others wounded. They added that the Israeli occupation forces committed 5 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip over the past 48 hours, resulting in the killing of at least 38 Palestinians and the injury of 193 others. UNRWA Commissioner General Felipe Lazzarini has called for a peaceful diplomatic solution to the Israeli-Palestinian war, including a definitive resolution for Palestinian refugees. In a statement on X, Lazzarini emphasized UNRWA's role as a guardian of the identity and history of refugees. Thousands of archival files from Gaza and the West Bank have been secured and digitized, preserving 75 years of family records, crucial for safeguarding refugees' rights under international law.
And are also preventing active. And if we cannot operate anymore in Gaza, it's not.
Israeli occupation forces have tightened their military measures at the Tayassir checkpoint, located east of Tubas in the West Bank, and around the city of Nablus in the northern West Bank. Local resources reported that Israeli forces obstructed the movement of Palestinian vehicles passing through the checkpoint, creating a traffic jam that extended for hundreds of meters. The Tayassir checkpoint, which connects the cities of the northern West Bank with the Jordan Valley and is a key access point to the area, has witnessed increasing restrictions and vehicle searches in recent months. An Israeli airstrike on the western Gaza city last night killed 3 Palestinians and injured 10 others. An Israeli fighter jet targeted an apartment near El Quds Mosque in western Gaza's Rimmel neighborhood, killing 3 civilians, including a woman and a child, and injuring 10 others. Israel continues its offensive in Gaza, disregarding the International Court of Justice's binding ruling to halt military actions in Rafah, which may breach the Genocide Convention. Displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza are struggling to get by in charity kitchens, where they're often only able to receive a few scoops of rice or soup. Israel's ongoing war on Gaza has displaced nearly all of Gaza's 2.3 million residents, causing widespread hunger. With Israel controlling all border crossings into Gaza and the breakdown of law and order in the region, humanitarian groups are finding it increasingly difficult to deliver much-needed aid. The UN has reported that the Israeli occupation authorities continue to obstruct vital aid reaching those in need in the Gaza Strip. The spokesperson for the Secretary-General, Stefan Dujarric, has reported that across the Strip yesterday, only 10 out of 21 UN-planned humanitarian movements were facilitated by the Israeli authorities. 7 were denied outright, 3 were impeded, and 1 was cancelled due to security and logistical challenges.
Today, across the Gaza Strip yesterday, only 10 out of the 21 UN-planned humanitarian movements were facilitated by Israeli.
The Palestinian Civil Defense has announced that firefighting and rescue operations in Gaza have stopped due to a lack of spare parts and equipment. They also blamed ongoing Israeli airstrikes for destroying the local supply chain and infrastructure. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, has condemned the publication of an Israeli map claiming historical territorial rights for Israel in Palestine and large parts of Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. The OIC condemned Israeli calls to annex the West Bank and escalate aggression in Gaza, labeling them a violation of international law. It also urged the international community to end Israeli violations and the ongoing genocide against Palestinians. The Israeli occupation military has claimed to have intercepted a rocket fired from southern Gaza. The Israeli military said air raid sirens sounded near the Kerem Abu Salem border crossing. That's after a rocket fired from southern Gaza was intercepted. The army did not report any injuries or casualties as a result of the interception. Now, for more on this, we cross over to Selma in our newsroom. Selma.
Thank you, Mark. And for further analysis on the current situation in Gaza, we're joined from Ramallah by the writer and researcher Ahmed Zakarna. Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us on Qnews. And first off, what does the initial agreement between Israel and Hamas for a ceasefire entail?
Good evening, everyone. The agreements are the same that taken place in 34 Israeli captives in exchange for a number of Palestinian captives and a gradual withdrawal from the Gaza Strip from the populated areas first. Hamas issued a message yesterday saying that they agree to push the disagreements for later stages to start these stages of exchanging hostages and captives. But the political will of the Israeli side has not advanced in this regard, and they are trying to start from Trump assuming his position as President of the United States of America. He is going to arrive to Tel Aviv today to have a meeting with Netanyahu, and the results of this meeting will clarify if there is going to be a deal during the coming few hours or days. We're gonna wait for a week to see the results.
So approximately 50 complaints were filed against Israeli soldiers in 10 countries. How do the rising war crime charges affect Israel's standing globally?
There were 50 complaints regarding the UNRWA or the war crimes committed in Israel. If we're talking about the war crimes committed in Gaza Strip, they are still taking place, and complaints are still being filed against the personnel of the Israeli army. And if we're talking about UNRWA, some states such as Spain, Norway, Portugal, number of these states will go to the ICC after they have taken a consultative opinion from the United Nations to sue Israel regarding the UNRWA issue, especially that UNRWA is the custodian of the identity of Palestinian refugees since 1948, and it has always called for a peaceful solution for this cause and putting an end for the refugee tragedy. But the Israeli Knesset has admitted a law to stop the work of the UNRWA, and it will be implemented by the end of this month. The United Nations and the US has condemned these decisions and requested Israel to find alternatives for the UNRWA work. And this is highly difficult, especially that the UN bodies such as UNICEF and the WHO and the FAO rejected to being alternatives for the UNRWA. They do not want to be alternatives for the UNRWA, especially because UNRWA have 13,000 employees on the Palestinian territories and more than 10,000 working with Palestinian refugees, or more than 3,000 UNRWA personnel serving the displaced populations in the Gaza Strip, providing education and healthcare services. And this, when we're only talking about 2 million people in the Gaza Strip alone receiving services from the UNRWA personnel.
Now, sir, building on what you said regarding the humanitarian situation, with over 46,000 Palestinians dead, what are the most pressing humanitarian needs in Gaza?
56,000 dead. These are the numbers estimated. The roughly estimated population, but we're talking about 41% of these rates of the dead is not taken into consideration. We're talking about 70,000 martyrs and dead in this genocide taking place till this moment. Is this the tragedy taking place in the Gaza Strip? Is unprecedented, and it is still ongoing, and the world is standing watching this tragedy taking place, calling upon other parties to stop this crisis. There is a severe humanitarian crisis, healthcare-wise, food-wise, and we're talking about the food security, for example. the international system is a signature on the Rome system to ensure food security for the displaced populations, even in the time of war, which is violated by Israel, violating the international law and the international humanitarian law. And this international system stood unable to impose this global will on the occupying force, and we're waiting for the US being headed by President Trump. We're waiting for results, but we have seen them threatening in a video and criticizing. We can see different views and conflicting views from Trump, and we are still waiting to see what are the stance to be.
Now, sir, I would like to ask you about the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant for committing war crimes. What are the implications of this, and can Israel really do measures to counteract this?
These resolutions have great implications in Israel, and there will be more implications on the global level, especially when more states acknowledge these resolutions to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel, who is convicted now of war crimes. This also going after different elements from the Israeli military. We have different documents condemning these military personnel in different states around the world. The implications of this are still taking place in Israel, and there are attacks and criticism being directed towards famous institutions in Israel, and we have seen more than 1,000 names for Israeli criminals who launched these genocide coups. This is the only point where the international and local resolutions take place. The United Nations or the Security Council cannot veto to stop these resolutions, or we have seen some prime ministers and presidents taking guarantees to receive Netanyahu in the memory of the Holocaust and so on, but these guarantees has not received any acceptance on the international level. So Netanyahu now is facing a great crisis on the local and international levels. Netanyahu is facing 4 lawsuits for embezzlement and bribery, and he's also associated with some companies with ill reputations, and these are some of the reasons making Netanyahu insist to continue this war and the war crimes and the genocide. The Israeli state also is now being sued by the ICC as being a terrorist state, which is a stigma now for the Israeli state, as its prime minister is a terrorist minister. This prime
Thank you, sir. That was writer and researcher Ahmad Zakarna. Thank you so much for your insights and for joining us on Q News. And now we're going to move back to Mark for more news and developments around the world.
Thank you very much, Selma. Thank you indeed to you and to your guest. Now let's find out what's been going on in Syria. Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati has met with Syria's military operations chief Ahmed al-Shara in Damascus. According to Lebanese media, Mikati left Beirut earlier in the day for a one-day visit at al-Shara's invitation. The Lebanese delegation include Foreign Minister Abdullah Abu Habib, Acting General Secretary General Elias El-Baisari, Army Intelligence Chief Brigadier General Tony Kawaji, and Deputy General Secretary Director Brigadier General Hassan Shakir. Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati has stressed the need for controlling Syria's border to prevent smuggling. During the press conference with Syria's military operations chief Ahmed al-Shara, Mikati emphasized activating bilateral relations based on respecting sovereignty. Both leaders discussed the border situation, highlighting the importance of ensuring the security of both Lebanon and Syria, underscoring the need for cooperation to maintain regional stability and prevent further illegal activities. Meanwhile, al-Shara has emphasized prioritizing internal stability and enhancing security within Syria. That came during the press conference with Najib Mikati during his visit to Damascus. Al-Shara stated that strategic long-term relations between Syria and Lebanon are in focus, with the border issue among the top priorities for upcoming discussions. The meeting highlighted mutual efforts to strengthen ties and address critical regional matters for enhanced cooperation between the neighboring countries. US, French and German envoys have warned Syria's new leadership against appointing foreigners to senior military positions, citing security concerns and potential harm to their image while seeking foreign relations. US envoy Daniel Rubinstein raised the issue with Syria's military operations chief Ahmed al-Shara in Damascus. French and German foreign ministers also addressed foreign recruits in the military during talks. Meanwhile, Syrian media reports that Israeli forces have advanced into the western area of Al-Malka village in the Qnews province in southern Syria using military vehicles and bulldozers. Also, roadworks reported in the border area suggest the construction of a large Israeli military base near the Deriat checkpoint. Iraq's Deputy Commander of Joint Operations, Lieutenant General Qais al-Mohammadi, has confirmed that the Iraqi-Syrian border is fully secure. Al-Mohammadi highlighted ongoing intelligence operations that have prevented Daesh infiltration and strengthened Iraq's overall security. Ahmed al-Shara has received an envoy of Oman's Sultan, Sheikh Abdulaziz bin Abdullah bin Zahir al-Hainai, in Damascus. Arab and Western officials have been visiting the Syrian capital to meet with the new administration. Most of the meetings have called for unity in Syria and a government that includes all categories and sects of Syrian society. And that's all almost for our news today. Here's what we've been covering. Israel and Hamas agree on the second phase on Gaza's ceasefire. The Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati has arrived in Damascus. And Syria's al-Shara emphasizes long-term relations with Lebanon. And that concludes our news bulletin for this hour. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNewsEGY. Thanks for watching.